So here's the situation. Try to turn on the TV and the screen just looks black. First thing you want to do, make sure it's plugged in. Alright, so it's plugged in. There's a white light that indicates that there is power going to the system. Now when I try to push the power button on the back, nothing happens. The screen just stays black. Now, there's different things you could do. You could try unplugging it, holding down the power button to try to power cycle it, to try to drain all the power out, because maybe it's like messing up due to some sort of like system issue, like a software issue. Or you could also try to see, is it plugged into a wall directly, or is it plugged into a power strip? If it's plugged into a power strip, it may not be getting enough electricity, and so that could be the reason. If you just plug it directly into a wall, then it'll start working. In my case, I have it plugged directly into a wall. Okay, so I don't know if you heard, but when I pushed the power button again, it made it sound like it was turning on and turning off. So that's a good sign. That means the TV isn't completely busted, but chances are the LED lights, the backlight, is just burned out. It's typically the way these TVs work. You have like a digital display, and you have a bright LED light in back that lights up and allows you to actually see what's going on. So to troubleshoot this, make sure your TV is plugged in, and then you want to turn it on. And the way to actually troubleshoot this, you want to take like a really bright flashlight and just try shining it on different parts of the screen. And if the LEDs are burned out, but you shine your flashlight on it, you should be able to see the digital display. Check that out. As you can tell, when I shine my flashlight on it, there is an image. And this isn't just due to the screen brightness being turned down, because I tried to turn that as high up as I could with a remote control. Problem is, the actual lights are burned out. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to replace burned out lights in a Philips 4K TV. Boop. If you go through these steps and you troubleshoot, you find that your TV display is working, but you're not able to see it because the lights are burned out. The next step you want to do is just check the back of your TV to find the serial number, so you could find the exact type of LEDs that your TV requires in order to replace them. Now mine, I was able to find a replacement light on eBay. I think you could also find them elsewhere, but it cost me about $30 or so. And based on my calculations, a brand new TV would cost maybe like $300 to $400 to get something that's comparable, versus spending $30. Seemed like it was more worthwhile just to at least try to replace the LED lights. So let's give it a shot and see what we can do. All right, so the next step, I'm going to take the TV down, just put it on like a soft surface so I don't scratch it or mess it up. In this case, I'm just going to put it on my bed. I'm going to just take off the different components. Just remove the feet, then just flip it over and take the screws out of the back. And something really important while you're doing this, make sure that you keep track of all the screws, because if those get lost, it's gonna be really difficult to find them, and you don't want to you don't want to screw yourself. All right, so let's get this thing going. Once you get your TV, obviously one of the first things you want to do is you want to make sure you unplug your TV before you begin working on it. First, we're going to take off the feet. My system's kind of dirty because I haven't really messed with it in like ever. So I'm going to take a baby butt wipe and just clean the back of it before I disassemble it. And the reason why is I don't want any excess dust or crud getting inside there while it's disassembled and messing up the components or affecting the screen. Just disconnect the power cable. don't forget the follow-up wipe. So I'm pretty sure the way these things work is you have your screen on the front, and you have different layers of like other types of screen materials that go behind that, and then ultimately you have the LED light bar strips. Keep things simple. I'm just going to use a paper plate just to store the different screws. That way they don't get lost. What I'm quickly gathering from this process is the manufacturer of this TV was hoping that the consumer would not take this thing apart. There are 10 of these tiny screws. It's a semi-complicated process. So just keep that in mind if you're going into this. Realize it's not fast, it's not easy, but if you're patient and careful, you could potentially save hundreds of dollars versus just buying a new one. That's what it comes down to, really. Is do you want to spend a few $100s and buy yourself a new TV, or do you want to spend $30-ish, invest a bit of time, and see if you could fix the thing yourself? Okay, so most of these screws that went around the outside periphery that connects to the bezel are these small, what they call M3 screws. Then it looks like the back of this part with motherboards has these like bigger, maybe slightly bigger screws. Let's just take all the screws off. Alright guys, so let's take a look at the back of the TV. It says, caution, risk of electric shock, do not open. And that's exactly what we're going to do, we're going to open it. So just keep in mind that if you do open this thing, you could get shocked and it could hurt, you could get seriously injured. So be very careful if you're going to attempt this. So we took out the screws, and they're all along the peripheral edge, as well as the backing. I put all of them on a little plate here just to keep them organized and together so I don't lose them. And I'm doing this on top of a bed, mainly because it's just soft, so it's less likely to cause any scratches or damage to the front screen. Anyway, now that I've taken off the screws, it feels quite loose, this back panel. So we're going to just carefully lift that off and see what it looks like. Ta-da! Circuit boards. All those little coils of wire and little components there. You have fuses, you have capacitors, basically things that store large amounts of electricity. So, especially those thingies. So you don't want to mess around with those. Don't touch those. And like I showed you in the very beginning of the video, make sure you disconnect the power from this thing. Alright, so I'm just going to carefully remove component by component until I could get to the point in which the LED light strips are. So just carefully put this off to this backing off to the side, and we shall continue. Okay, so the next part to take off is this part. Now to do this, I just kind of squeezed it just like that, and wiggled it back and forth. And if you look carefully, there's these like little tabs that go into these parts of the frame. If you just kind of like pinch it together, the tabs pop out. Then it comes apart. We're gonna just disconnect each of these little components here, so we could completely remove this part. So to do that, I'm just gonna carefully peel this tape. Just holding it together. Just like that. And the easiest way to disconnect these parts is you just grab it underneath and wiggle it, and it disconnects. Make sure when you're doing this, you take a picture of how everything looks. So when you disconnect it, it'll be much easier to reconnect it later. Okay, got the red one and the white one. I got a couple of these gray ones. Go. This one. This is kind of hard to do one-handed, so I'm gonna set up the camera and put the camera aside and use two hands to get these removed. All right, got it. So to do that, with one hand I had to push on the back part, and with my other hand I pushed it that way. There we go. Okay, now that I got all these components disconnected, this power bar thingy can come right off. So let's take that and put it off to the side where it can be safe. All right, so the journey continues. So it looks like I'm going to have to take out that screw there, and that screw, and that screw, and that one, and that one. So I'll do those next. Alright, let's take out this component and this component also. All right, so one of the more nerve-wracking parts of this is just taking out this bezel. It's like this little plastic covering thing that keeps the screens together. So to do this, just take a flathead screwdriver. In this case, I'm using a Swiss Army knife, and very gently put it into this little like space between the bezel and the metal frame, and just kind of gently wiggle it, and it should gently pop apart. Hear that? If you notice really carefully, next to the frame, there's these little tiny indentations in the metal frame that little plastic parts of the bezel are pressed into. So basically what we're doing is we're using the screwdriver tip to just very carefully wiggle it so the little plastic tab that's on the inside here pops out of this metal frame. So just continue doing that all along the edge of your TV screen. Only use enough force to just kind of wiggle it apart. Don't use your full strength. See? Nice and gentle. Remember, keep your screws organized. Okay, one's almost heart attack later. It looks like we've got the bezel pretty much loosened around the edge of the TV. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to carefully just take the TV and flip it over so it's screen side up. Then I'll just carefully extract the bezel and see how easily the screen is going to come off. Okay, so I flipped it over. I'm just going to carefully take the bezel and lift it up and out. Success. We took off the bezel. Right here, when we took off the bezel, and this is basically the TV screen. It's either thin plastic or glass, and it's extremely freaking delicate. So what some people do is they'll take suction cups and apply like suction cups to the sides so you could lift it up uniformly and take it off without cracking it. Basically, it's like really thin and floppy, and if you bend it beyond its normal range of motion, it will crack, and then if that happens, you might as well just buy a new TV. So I don't think I have any suction cups, but I do have tape. So I think what I might try doing is taking some strips of wood and just taping them over the top of this just to stabilize it, and then use the tape to so I could just lift the whole thing up without hopefully warping the screen and cracking it. Alright, so my idea to reinforce the screen here, just got a few pieces of wood. I'm going to just tape one here, and then one diagonal there. My rationale is doing so will help to, give me a surface to pick up the screen, but also prevent it from flexing and cracking. And I'm using electrical tape to do this because it seems pretty strong and it's pretty sticky, but not so sticky that it'll mess up the screen. And I'm thinking that even if it leaves a little bit of glue residue, I could just use a damp cloth, paper towel, with some water in it, or chemical, and just like wipe it away. My rationale for using so many strips of tape is each little area where the tape is sticking to will redistribute the force that's being exerted on the screen, and hopefully reinforce it so if the tape pulls up on one spot, the other two spots will hold together. All right, here goes. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to take this screen that has the wood on it, and I'm just going to carefully lift it up and tilt it back towards the headboard of the bed. All right, here goes. It worked. And the reason why I tilted it back this way is because underneath we have these like little tiny like wire connection thingies. So I just made sure that when I lifted it forward and rotated it, that it wouldn't stress these things out and tear them apart. All right, next step, we're going to take these layers off to expose LEDs. Okay, so it looks like this white screen right here is being held together with like this little plastic frame looking thingy. So it looks like you need to take like a solid screwdriver and just pull this tab forward so it can come up. So see that? That came up. So basically I'm going to go along the edge here. And every time I find another one of those tabs, I'm just going to lift it up. Pop goes the weasel. I took off that plastic strip that was on this part, this edge that's closest to me. Tape. Sticky side to sticky side to make a non-sticky tab. There we go. I'm just going to peel up the layers gently. And lifting that up, you can already see little LED lights, which is pretty cool. So we're going to take that sticky side up. Let's put it here and fold that over. There. That way it's nice and secure. And do the same to the other side here. Just like before, peel up each of the different layers. Sticky side up. Put that underneath. And just tape that. That should just hold everything together. Looks like I'll have to take off the that back tab as well in order to secure all four corners of these multiple layers together. Swing. You actually see each of these little things is an LED. And I'm not sure which one is burned out. It doesn't really matter because I'm just going to replace all of them. Alright, looks like the light bars themselves are secured with these screws. So what I'm doing is I'm putting one hand underneath, then using my other hand on top, just to kind of like carefully peel it up bit by bit. And it seems like they just have like little dots of glue every so often. So as I'm picking this up, it seems to be coming apart fairly easily, which is good. Looks like the whole thing isn't like solidly glued together. So I shall continue. Okay, so here's what I'm noticing. So this white paper plasticky looking sheet seems to peel up pretty easily. And looks like I could pull it up and expose the LED light bars. However, it looks like it's also being held together by these like white little cone-shaped thingies. And the only purpose I could really think for those is to piss people off. So I'm pretty sure if I flip this over, there's like the other sides of them are these like little white like little tabs. So right here, that's the other side of those little white cone-shaped thingies. So if I pinch that and push it, that should allow it to just kind of pop out. They have this little spring mechanism where when you flip the TV over, you basically can use a pair of needle nose pliers. You basically just kind of pinch those two parts together so it becomes more narrow, and then it just kind of pops off. There's also these like circular black little pegs. I just tried lifting this plastic sheeting or this paper sheeting like straight up, and it just kind of like I just kind of slid it over the top. So I don't think you really need to remove those. You could just kind of pull this white material over them. Alright, so almost like 2 or 3 hours later, now we finally got to the part where the frickin' light strips are. Woohoo! Looks like they're attached by these Phillips screws, but it looks like it's like narrow right here and kind of wider on the light strip. So probably I could just loosen these screws slightly and take the strip and just kind of slide it to the side. It should be able to come right off of here. Now it looks like these things plug in pretty simply. One of these little connections, I'll just call it that, a little tiny connection. And just so I don't get confused, for each of these old light strips, I'm going to take some of my electrical tape and just put a tiny piece on each one. That way, in case I get distracted or something happens, I'll be able to easily differentiate the old light bars from the new light bars. Here's the box of new ones that I ordered. Okay. Let's open these up. Fit them together. There we go. Alright, so next I'm going to systematically go section by section and disconnect each one and reconnect the new ones. Loosen these screws slightly. As far as the connection here, should just be able to pinch both sides here. It should come right out. There we go. Pull it out. Cool. Let's take the new LED connection. So it's slid into position. Now I'm going to gently tighten these with the screws. I'm going to take the connection. Alright. I'll just continue that same process with all the other light bars. Now I'm noticing this is kind of loose, which bothers me. So I'll probably just put like a strip of tape like what they already had just to hold it in place. Okay. Almost done. And what I'm doing now is I'm just putting some extra tape on here just to further immobilize these LED strips because I don't want them to freaking come loose, and might as well invest a little extra time and energy right now just to make sure that they're extra secure. Especially since these replacement LEDs are in two parts. Don't want the two parts to slip apart. Sweet. And last but not least, let's connect this last one here. So something that's worth mentioning, when you're connecting these the power source to the LED light bar, make sure you pinch the two parts together, trying to immobilize the female connection on the light bar as you're inserting the male power source connection into it. These are pretty delicate and you don't want to just accidentally like crack them off the circuit board and completely mess it up. Now that we've got all the LED light strips installed, we're basically going to reassemble everything in the inverse order that we use to take things apart. What I might do is on each of these like four corners, I'm going to put a little bit of electrical tape, just hold it onto itself to create like a double-sided surface and just to secure this part in place so it doesn't flop off of it. A couple of these little cone-shaped thingies, they're really cheap and easily breakable, broke. So what I'm going to do is, I'm pretty sure all these do is hold the filters to I guess they're diffusers for the light. They just kind of lift up the diffusers a certain distance from the LEDs. I'm just going to put some electrical tape over the top of them just to tape it in place, and that should be fine. It's not covering up the LED lights and probably doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. let's put the diffusers back over the top. So make sure that when you're putting this on, your tabs line up. It's like a little tiny raised actual tab that fits up and into the groove that's in these multiple layers. Next, we want to reassemble all these little spacer parts. So as you're reattaching these like little spacer connector thingies, you want to make sure when you're putting them in that they're clicking into place. Make sure these little tabs snap into place. Last side. Alright, in this step of the process, we now want to inspect the diffuser layers as well as the TV screen itself, just to make sure there isn't any sort of like dust on top. Because if there is, you're going to see it as soon as the TV is fully assembled. You'll see like a black spot on the screen where there's dirt or a smudge or a fingerprint. So you just want to take a microfiber cloth and just gently wipe down the surface just to make sure there aren't any spots, dead bugs, spiders, dust particles, hairs, things like that. So there are a couple spots of like dust or dirt. I just used a piece of tape just to pick up those stray pieces of like dust or plastic. Alright guys, I'm kind of skipping ahead. I already put the screen back on and reattached the bezel. It's pretty straightforward. Having the wood on the surface proved to be super imperative to just reinforce it and make it easy to move around. So now I'm basically reattaching all the circuitry. So start with this one over here. Again, want to be organized. I kept all my screws together, so this should be fairly straightforward. Now for the moment of truth. Indicator light is on, which is a good thing. I'm going to push the power button on the back. Heck yes. You did it. You succeeded. Saved $300 something. Heck yes, guys. That was insanely difficult. It works. It's always nice when you put something together, it actually works afterwards. Alright, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions about the process or need help troubleshooting your system, just let me know in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe for more videos, and thank you very much. Take care, guys.